Good evening, everyone. Welcome back from our Christmas break. I remind councillors and all those in attendance that your image and what you say will be live streamed to the public, so please be mindful of your actions and your comments. You should avoid making statements that might defame or offend, and note that a recording of this meeting will be retained online and in the council's archives. Please turn your mobile phones off or to silent. Filming and photography are not permitted in the meeting. Anyone observed to be filming the meeting may be asked to leave. I would like to remind councillors to turn their microphones on before speaking and off again when no longer addressing the committee. I now declare the meeting open at 5:06. Firstly, before we begin, I'd like to ask Councillor McNamara to chair this meeting today.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, we have a request was received from Councillor Mewland. And have we got any other requests at the moment? Not at the moment. To attend this meeting by audiovisual link in accordance with clause 6.21 of the Code of Meeting Practice. Councillor Wright has also requested to join the meeting remotely as an observer. Therefore, I move the following procedural motion. That number one, that the committee approves the request by Councillor Mewland to attend the Economic Development Committee meeting on the 4th of February 2025 at 5 p.m. by audiovisual link because he is unable to attend in person due to personal reasons. And two, that the committee approves the request by Councillor Wright to dial in to the Economic Development Committee meeting on 4th of February 2025 at 5 p.m. by audiovisual link as an observer. Do I have a seconder? Councillor?
I think the legislation actually requires him to specify personal reasons. I don't think is sufficient.
Okay, is in hospital. Sickness is the reason he's in hospital.
Sorry, is that actually in his email rather than your information?
I haven't seen the email.
Look, I've no doubt he has a valid reason, but I think as a general principle, we can't just say personal reasons. You're required to actually say what it is. So can we just confirm that by him writing something to that effect?
I think we could go. Who is, sorry? McGregor, okay. So based on that, we have Councillor Mewland, and we're asking Councillor Mewland, he should be able to hear us now. Give us the thumbs up. Are you on? Okay. Yes. And Councillor McGregor, we have received a request from Councillor McGregor as well to join by audio visual. Now, the two councillors we're talking about are committee members, so we'll just make sure that the Secretariat has the correct information. So, Councillor Neal, do you want to wait or do you want to go with the notice of motion with Councillor Mewland and McGregor for personal reasons?
As a matter of principle, I don't think we should start that process. So can we wait? Can they send us an email?
The answer is yes, but a limited time. Let's wait till the Secretariat tells us they have the information. Councillor Mewland?
I actually sent an email to the CEO this morning about a unexpected illness, and requesting permission to dial in. That was sent this morning. So the CEO has gotten that. I'm happy to send that to anybody else that would like a copy as well.
Unexpected illness, okay. And we also should have an email from Councillor McGregor. And the specific reason then? Okay, committee members, in this room we have Councillor McQuaid, Councillor McKenna, Councillor Neal, Councillor McNamara. Are you happy at the moment that we have Councillor Moulin's reason for attending via audiovisual is unexpected illness? However, we do not have a reason yet from Councillor McGregor. Okay, so I think we will use the reason for Councillor McGregor coming in via audio-visual as arrival of a new baby. Is that agreement? Councillor McKenna? Yes, Councillor McQuaid, Councillor. Okay, so let me read this again. So number one, that the committee approves the request by Councillor Moulin for unexpected illness and Councillor McGregor for a new arrival of a new baby to attend the Economic Development Committee meeting on the 4th of February 2025 at 5 p.m. by audiovisual link because they are unable to attend. Number two, that the committee approves the request by Councillor Wright to dial into the Economic Development Committee meeting on the 4th of February 2025 at 5 p.m. by audiovisual link as an observer. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor McGregor. Councillor McKenna. I now put that motion. All those in favour of the motion, and remember the committee is made up of 6 people. So those in the room, a yes from Councillor Neal, Councillor McKenna, Councillor McQuaid, Councillor McNamara. The motion is carried. So if you'll let Councillor Mewland and Councillor McGregor in, please. We'll just wait a couple of minutes until we get confirmation. Can you hear me, Councillor McGregor? Thumbs up. Councillor Mewland? Thumbs up. Okay, thank you. Item 1.1, thanks everybody. This is our first Economic Development Committee meeting of our current council. And in general, it's going to be a benchmarking start with the 3 items we have on tonight. But welcome to everybody and anybody that's welcoming and watching from home. We'll move on to the acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we live, work and play. We pay our respects to Darkinjung country and elders past and present. We recognise the continued connection to these lands and waterways and extend this acknowledgement to the homelands and stories of those who also call this place home. We recognise our future leaders and shared responsibilities to care for and protect our place and people. First of all, is there any apologies received for tonight's meeting? No is the answer from the Secretariat. Items 1.2 is the disclosure of interests. This is for the committee members. So I ask the committee members to disclose any conflict of interest they may have in the items on tonight's agenda. Firstly, myself, I confirm that I do not have any conflicts of interest. Mayor McKenna, any conflicts? Nil from Mayor McKenna. Councillor McGregor, coming online, any conflicts of interest? Yes,
No conflict of
that's a
interest
no.
for me.
Councillor Mewland,
No conflicts of interest.
no conflicts. Councillor McQuaid,
No conflicts.
Councillor Neal.
No conflict of interest.
Thank you all. Move to item 1.3, the high-speed rail, economic benefits for the Central Coast, and I invite Jamie Loader, the Director of Environment and Planning, to speak to the report. Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I actually have the Unit Manager for Strategic Planning, Shannon Turkington, who has prepared a presentation on this item, so I'll hand over to her.
Thanks, Jamie. The Australian Government is investigating the first phase of the East Coast high-speed rail network. The first phase is proposed to connect Newcastle and Sydney. The High Speed Rail Authority has prepared a business case which has been submitted to the Australian Government in December 2024. Keep going. It's a short presentation. There are many benefits of high-speed rail, including fast, reliable transport between capital cities and rural areas, regional areas. This includes construction of dedicated railway lines, tunnels and stations, new regional growth opportunities for tourism, new jobs and industries, creations of cities along the routes and near stations providing more jobs and lifestyle choices, greater housing options and opportunities, and new economic development opportunities in both building high-speed rail stations as well as industries that would be around the new stations. A resilient and sustainable network contributing to meeting Australia's net zero targets. Next steps are...
Just a small break to technically just make sure the presentation can move on. Just an update, we're just waiting for a technical issue to be corrected. Won't be too long. Okay, we're back on track. Thank you.
That one. Yeah. The Australian Government is investigating the first phase of the East Coast high-speed rail network. The first phase is proposed to connect Newcastle and Sydney. The High Speed Rail Authority has prepared a business case and submitted to the Australian Government in December of 2024. There are many benefits to high-speed rail, including fast, reliable transport between capital cities and regional areas. This includes construction of dedicated railway lines, tunnels and stations. New regional growth opportunities, including tourism, new jobs and industries. Creation of cities along the routes and near stations, providing more jobs and lifestyle choices, greater housing opportunities and new economic opportunities. A resilient and sustainable network contributing to meeting Australia's net zero targets. The next steps are awaiting the outcomes of the business case review, and there is a federal election upcoming. Should the project proceed, ongoing consultation between Council and the High Speed Rail Authority will be required to determine station locations and the impact the high speed rail will have on Council's local infrastructure networks, and how Council can work together with the High Speed Rail Authority to get a great outcome for the community. For further information, a national high-speed rail hub has been established in Newcastle, which is provided as a central point where people can learn about high-speed rail, including the stations and trains, and there's also a High-Speed Rail Authority website should you require further information.
That's it. Thanks, Shannon. Questions? Councillor Neal.
Is that business case available publicly?
I've put an inquiry in. I couldn't find it online, but I've sought some further information. So if I get a copy of it.
Yeah, if you do find it, that'd be great to get that. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Neal. Any other questions, councillors?
Chair?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Can I just ask what interaction has been occurring with council, who that interaction's been with, and is there any indication whether what council is expected to? I know it's early days, but is there any indication of what council is expected to contribute towards the project, the long-term project?
We've met with the High Speed Rail Authority, and they've provided some information about the project and also about the environmental assessment that's being undertaken for we're looking at tunnel locations. But no, not yet, only just to establish an early connection and let council know who's involved in the project.
Thank you. Any more questions? Anybody?
I'll ask another one.
Okay, Councillor Neal.
Did they provide you with a proposed or a draft route when they were consulting with you?
No, very, very vague line on a page at the moment. We haven't been provided with station locations.
Because I understand the original proposal was to go up the North Shore to the northern beaches and cut across underwater to Yamina or Woy Woy. So no indication if that's still the route?
Not at the moment.
The only comment I would have is I've seen pictures of the authority on a barge doing drilling for whatever sandstone or whatever's under the structure. So that's the only thing that I've seen publicly. That was within the Brisbane Water somewhere. I don't know exactly when, but yes, that was done, and it was all billboarded up that it was High Speed Authority that was doing the drilling. In Brisbane Water somewhere, the dredge was, yeah. Go.
It was just just off Iguana Joe's or Drifter's Wharf, and right in the middle there. It was there for a few weeks. Yeah. Might still be there, is it not there now?
So that's all the public information that we have at the moment.
Mr.
So,
Chair.
Councillor Eaton.
Mr. Chair, the Mayor and I went to, I don't know, what was it? You remember UDIA maybe? And there was a briefing there. And they certainly said the current plan, I suppose, for what it's worth, would be basically underground from Gosford to Sydney, including potentially under Brisbane Water. Yeah. So quite expensive, I would have thought.
Well, I'd say it's got into hibernation. It's got into cabinet in Canberra. You know, whether it's going to come out before the or during the election, I would imagine that may have a guarantee. There's a guarantee from Councillor Neal that it will come out before the next election on the 12th of April. So as far as the committee is concerned, we will keep a watch on what council will have to do moving forward.
Yeah, now this is a particular pet project of the present Prime Minister's. He was, as we all know, was Infrastructure Minister for many years, and it was in his watch that much of this work was done. So I would expect he would be very keen to make some sort of announcement in the not too distant future.
Correct, but on top of that, I think what we should be involved in is having a look at the sites for the stations on the Central Coast. Now they're talking about one. If you have too many, it's not high speed, having to stop all the time. But you know, whether that's Gosford or Gosford and then somewhere way up north and then off to Newcastle, I think that's what councillors will get involved with in the next year or two. Any other questions from anybody? Anything online? Councillor McGregor, Councillor Muirland, all good? Okay. So I'll move that the committee notes the information provided in this report. I've got a seconder. Second. I'll let you move it. Moved by Councillor Neal that the committee notes the information provided in this report. I've got a seconder. Councillor McQuaid. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, guys. Okay, we move on to 1.4, item 1.4. Okay, so which is the destination management model and destination marketing strategy operations report. I'll invite Mel Smith, Director of Community and Recreational Services, to speak on the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll invite Sue Lettingham, who's the Unit Manager of Communications, Marketing and Customer Engagement, to respond to this report.
Thank you, councillors. The purpose of the report was just to provide an update of the implementation of the destination management model that was put in place in 2020, and looking back, despite the challenges that were posed by the 2019 bushfires, coastal erosion, flooding, and the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic, the results in the report demonstrate that the Central Coast visitor economy has demonstrated some remarkable resilience over that period. We have some latest results that came through from Tourism Research Australia for September 2024, and looking back over from September 2023, the region welcomed 5.3 million visitors, contributing 1.7 billion to the local economy, which is really remarkable. According to that research, when we look at some of the impressive growth since 2019, we've had total overnight stays of 5.8 million. The economic impact in terms of the visitor economy grew by about 236 million compared to 2019 results, well, the results in 2019, which is about 21.5% increase. The domestic overnight travel is up by about 18.8% with an average stay of 2.6 nights, and visitor spending is seeing an average of about $500 per visitor. International visitors, that's increased by about 41.1% from the 2019 figures, staying on an average of 17.5 days and spending approximately $739 per trip. So some notable achievements have occurred, and particularly some great recognition for the region, both by the industry and our operators who have done achieved some outstanding results in 2024 in particular, and also that the continued level of support for the eco certification for the region has been really pleasing, along with the amount of operators that have become eco certified in that period. So the report just provides an overview of the management model, where we are with the destination management plan. We're about 78% completion in that GMP that was developed for 2022 through to 2022 to 2025. And that is really pleasing. There is a couple of items in that we'll report back to Council in March on our progress of the DMP. We'll be looking to develop a new DMP and we'll commence that process in the mid part of this year in 2025 in preparation for that to commence in 2026. And that concludes really just an overview of the report.
Thank you, Sue. Any questions from the councillors? Anybody? You got the green lights.
Mine's
Councillor?
more
Okay.
a comment, not a question. I just want to congratulate you guys on doing a great job. I think it's really working from what I see on the socials and whatnot, and all I hear is positive comments, so well done.
Great comment, Councillor Neal.
Is this just a marketing? I don't mean to be undermining by saying that, but is it solely a marketing plan, or is there engagement with issues around possible other development of tourist attractions? For example, I was today briefed about a proposal for the reopening of Old Sydney Town, which is up there at Summersby, and I was advised that a proposal to rezone that area to allow that to happen, along with other things, has been in council for 4 years. So would there be any engagement with your section with planning to sort of manage those sort of proposals that might actually add to the tourist attraction of the Central Coast?
The DMP has a number of actions that have been developed through stakeholder engagement with industry partners and strategic partners, for example, National Parks and Wildlife and a number of other, like Darkinjung Land Council, quite a number of other key stakeholders that have actually got actions in that DMP to deliver against. In relation to the planning proposal, that would be a separate matter that's managed by Planning and Environment Department. However, they would reach to look at what is involved, what is outlined in terms of things we want to achieve for the destination under our strategic pillars to see whether anything aligned to that.
So you wouldn't, not you personally, but your section wouldn't ever go in and get involved in the Department of Planning, encourage them in any particular direction?
We wouldn't get involved in the planning component of it, but in terms of understanding whether or not that meets the strategic pillars that are outlined in the DMP in terms of an outcome that we're seeking for the destination, then we would provide some information or advice and support. But apart from that, no, we wouldn't be involved in the planning proposal.
Councillor Neal, my view of this committee is that we should bring those two items together. If we want to watch that over a period of months, as what the actions are from either the planning section or the event tourism section. So I think that's something that we should make sure that we are watching and what's going on. Councillor McQuaid.
Is there, I don't know if this is in the wheelhouse of councillors or staff, but is there scope for interested councillors to get involved somehow and try and, I don't know if it's not in the branding or the content, try and change the perception of council? And help
good question. What we were talking about before with the director, I might just ask that question about the task force, and if you could give us a view of what the task force does, and if possible, whether councillors could be part of that or not.
Sorry, are you referring to the Economic Development Task Force?
Is it the Regional Activation Network? Is that what you call the task force?
The Regional Activation.
I understand it's the on the terms of reference. It's the regional task force, so it's an economic task force. So it's made up of quite a number of different members of regional partners and state agencies. And I'm not aware in terms of we've only just taken over economic development, I must admit. So we'll be finding out a bit more information around the task force. It was originally established following the development of the economic development strategy as a opportunity to actually assist in recovery through COVID-19 pandemic. And the task force still remains in place, and they meet on a fortnightly basis and share information.
Also, is there scope to set up some sort of platform where we can access content and also share it? I know Councillor Moreland and I have talked about this before, where, you know, unless we just share the post, which the algorithm doesn't work like that, is there scope to get content available that we can share to try and change, you know, the image and just be more positive about council and the Central Coast, right?
Through the chair to Councillor McQuaid, are you asking about being part of the marketing and branding for the region, or being part of an opportunity to help share? And okay, so in terms of sharing of the posts and through your network and through your social is absolutely fine. We would really welcome that. Are you asking for us to provide you like more detail when they'll be coming up and when we're doing that?
Also, just the hard content, if you know what I mean. So just if we can download it somehow and then upload it ourselves, you know, and spread the message, yeah. I guess.
I'll take that on notice, and I can work with the team and come back to you. Certainly.
Okay, thank you. Director, I didn't know if you wanted to run through some of those questions that I'd provided earlier. I know that you've got to come back with a lot of the information, but if you could maybe just run through those to let everyone know what I've provided.
Thank you, through the chair. In regards to how many staff are within the Destination Central Coast team, there's 4 staff within that team. One of the questions here is around the sections 4 budget details and outputs for the 2024-2025 year. We can bring that back to the next meeting of this committee for report against those outputs and status of where they're up to. How many hotels on the Central Coast and how many short stay facilities, example Airbnb, farm stays, etc. How many rooms are available for rent across all accommodation types per night? Do we know the occupancy rates throughout the different seasons? Again, we will put together a report that can be brought back to the next committee meeting outlining the details in response to that question. When are we updating the destination management plan and the marketing 3-year strategy and tourism opportunity plan? I'll hand over to Sue to respond to that question.
We'll be commencing the process for updating the new DMP or creating a new DMP for the next 4 years. And subsequent to that will be a marketing strategy that supports that destination management plan. The current destination marketing strategy is due to conclude at the end of 2026. And a new tourism opportunity plan should be considered for future development, in particular around infrastructure. The previous one that was in place was incorporated. Last parts of it were incorporated into the destination management plan, but it would be worthwhile having a look at a new tourism opportunity plan going forward, and we hope to start that from July this year.
Thank you, Sue. The next question is, do staff attend the AIM and the ATE in person? Yes, they do, as part of the delivery program. They attend in person. Pelican time. So the question is, should we have Pelican Information Centre for tourists at the entrance foreshore? Within the new Visitor Information Centre, there is a dedicated area and information regarding the Pelican Information Centre, and I believe there was more that, information available. Did you want to talk to that?
Included with the Pelican Time is actually a static display too on the little terns, so it incorporates the two great bits of information around what happens with the breeding season for terns. There's a static display in the visitor centre, and of course the information. We get regular inquiries from customers every day about Pelican Time.
Okay, that were all my questions. Any other information from anybody else? Any other questions? No is the answer. So, somebody to move the recommendation there. Thanks, Councillor McQuaid. Moving. Seconder. Councillor McKenna. Okay. Any comments or any speaking for or against? I think we're right. So I put the motion now that the committee receives the progress report and attachments on the Central Coast Destination Management Plan model and destination marketing strategy for 2022-2026. All those in favour? Got unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Carried. Okay, move on to item number 1.5, Business Economic Development Operations Report. Again, off to the Director of Community and Recreational Services, Mel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have recently transitioned economic development over to the community and recreation portfolio, so please bear with me. If I don't have the information at hand to respond to questions, then I'll definitely come back with a further report. But just as background, Council's economic development strategy is a broad region-facing strategy with actions that sit across the organisation, levels of government, regional agencies and the private sector. The Business Economic Development section's primary role is engaging with local industry and regional partners to support localised business growth and investment. It does this via a range of channels and mechanisms that have been established. These include a regional economy task force that meets regularly, that incorporates all agencies on the Central Coast who engage in economic development activities, an up-to-date industry database used to provide real-time communication to local businesses on funding and support programs, an annual small business growth program, collection and provision on economic data and insights to support investment decision-making available on Council's website, a business concierge service supporting and directing business on their growth journeys, delivery of business connection workshops and forums sharing data and information to local industry, formal partnerships with key regional stakeholders, for example, Business New South Wales, CCIC and Workforce Australia Employment Task Force. Many specialist areas across Council deliver economic development initiatives. Some key pieces happening at the moment are within strategic planning, working on an employment land strategy, early priority actions from the affordable housing strategy, a commercial land strategy and an integrated transport strategy. Development planning, optimisation and resource planning to better service development applications. A number of outputs from the economic development strategy have been actioned over the past 4 years. Notable outcomes have been strong leadership and advocacy on key enabling projects, which include catalytic Gosford Waterfront Revitalisation Project and the Central Coast Airport's General Aviation Hub, with both projects being significantly advanced. A tourism destination management plan, as Sue mentioned earlier, adopted and being executed on the coast, securing and maintaining ecotourism accreditation, an international trade and engagement exporters roadmap, strategic partnership agreement executed with Lake Macquarie's Economic Development Agency, an affordable housing strategy developed, Central Coast Industry Connect leading and development of the Central Coast Future Food Program after receiving a federal government commitment of $17.4 million to establish a food manufacturing innovation centre. Council has a direct link into this project via the provision of a site and execution of a business development lease. 2022-23 saw the creation of the Central Coast Health and Wellbeing Living Lab, which has a focus on designing innovative approaches to healthcare and ageing well. It's an important step forward in strengthening the Central Coast Health and Wellbeing Precinct as a critical industry sector and component of the Central Coast Innovation District. An investment pitch deck and promotional video for the coast in collaboration with Invest New South Wales. Infrastructure delivery saw council in 2022-23 saw council deliver its planned infrastructure program with 457 projects valued at 177.4 million completed. Notably, 51.4 million was secured from grants to deliver that suite of program. Council prepared and adopted the Somersby to Erinoak Corridor Strategy in 2019 and the Tuggerah to Wyong Economic Corridor Strategy in 2020. The Smart Places team of Transport for New South Wales is leading a Smart Cities, Smart Central Coast project. The University of Newcastle University is directly involved with industry in the Central Coast. It's a collaborative partner for CCIC, which is the Research in Central Coast Research Institute, Planned Food Manufacturing Innovation Centre, the Hub, and currently in development the Central Coast Future Food Program. And there's a multitude of other projects that were delivered under the strategy.
Thank you, Mel. Any questions to start off with, councillors? Councillor Eaton.
Oh, I should let the members go first if there are.
You should, but we've only got you at the moment,
Okay.
so go for your life.
All right. Well, I've got a number of questions and concerns with this report, and I appreciate that the staff have changed and.
Put your mic down, mate.
Oh, I appreciate the staff have changed and they might be able to answer some of the questions. But what concerns me is that we're quoting 2020 statistics, which are totally wrong these days and out of date. And things like youth unemployment rates, unemployment rates in general, have totally reversed. And yet this is a document that we've still got out there. So the question, I suppose, is how quickly we're going to at least change that part of the report. I mean, I understand it was done basically in COVID, and since COVID, these statistics have all, as I say, completely reversed. I mean, my understanding is our current unemployment rate is about the state average, around 4 to 4.5%. Even youth unemployment now is around 5 to 6%. I mean, at Central Coast Group Training, where I'm the chair, we still find it difficult to find kids for jobs. So the jobs are there, but the kids aren't there, and that's across the region. I'm not saying we're any different to anywhere else, but it's just painting the wrong pictures. So if I let somebody try and respond to that.
I think what you're looking for is an update on some of the stats that are in the document rather than a full document, right?
Well, at least that part's got to be revised.
A full document will take 6 months to a year to do, right? So I think what we're doing is you're probably looking for an update on the pertinent statistics that are used in the document. Director?
Yeah.
So my understanding is the statistics that you're referring to are in the 2020 to 2040 strategy, the table with the...
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So they were developed when the strategy was developed back in 2020, but you are correct. The statistics do need to be updated, and that will happen in due course.
Well, due course. I mean, it would have been... Surely it's fairly simple to do an addendum or something and just put in the current figures.
So, you want to put in a request to make that happen? Is that, I know what answer you're going to get at the moment, but as a committee, that may be the way to go, Councillor Eaton.
Okay, and if So on.
Councillor Neal.
oh,
Sorry,
okay.
sorry, Councillor Eaton, still going.
Okay. Another, sorry to be critical, but it seems like all of this is a plan to have a plan. Can anyone say what physical thing that this department actually achieved? Because I haven't heard anything yet. And again, I appreciate these are new staff and it's difficult for them.
Director.
Can I take that question on notice
Sure.
and come back to you at the next meeting with a report in detail as to the deliverables from that particular business unit? Back to the table, we can come back to the April meeting with the revised statistics for that table.
Thank you. Last question, at least from me, and it's probably kind of related to the statistics figures. I mean, one of the things that happened out of COVID for the Central Coast, COVID was actually in general good for the Central Coast, and we benefited from the work from home. And of course, there's nothing in here about that. Again, because I'm not blaming anyone for this, it was developed in COVID times, and this sort of developed as a result of COVID. It's still going on, but clearly that should be in there, you know, because that's one of our key advantages as a region. So that's more of a comment, I think, than a question.
A comment taken. Councillor Neal.
We really need to establish before we start talking about updating particular things, particularly the statistics, is there a general program of revising this strategy every set period? Does that happen?
So our understanding is that there's an annual action plan that's developed that supports the strategy, but we can come back to you with more detail around that at the next meeting, and then we can look at how we progress and how we actually revise the strategy in its current form.
Yeah, so possibly, I mean, if there is a sort of annual preparation of an action plan, possibly just a quick overview of the plan itself, and maybe the statistics, but there might be other areas where it's obvious they need to be updated, and maybe it'd be useful to do that as well, just to make sure that it does properly reflect where we are.
So we'll make a commitment to bring that back to the next meeting.
Thank you very much.
And in conjunction with that answer, my question that I have provided the director is to provide the committee with those annual reports since 2020, because I can't find them anywhere. So at least if we have what has been reported annually, we'll at least get the updates.
The annual action plan.
That's what it's called, yes. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question, I hope it's relevant. Last week there was an announcement, and there was some Newcastle media, I think the Prime Minister was throwing some money up that way, but it was an arrangement that our area and our council, I think specifically, was mentioned but wasn't visible at this announcement. So I thought there was some economic development activity that was being jointly undertaken with Lake Macquarie Council. Does that ring a bell at all? Or some initiatives or some projects, or it could have been circular economy stuff. That rings a bell from a long time ago, from quite a while ago, and it seemed that the Prime Minister was up there announcing a whole lot of money, or I think a whole lot of money, and there was Lake Macquarie Council there was obviously the politicians, there was mention of Central Coast Council, but no representation I could see. Do we know anything about that?
I don't have any knowledge of that. If you had any further details, I would be really keen for you to send them through and we can look into it.
I'll see what I can find. It was a TV news spot, so but I'll see what I can find. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Smith. Anybody else? We have a hand up online. Councillor Muirland.
Just a quick question. Could we get a brief overview of the structure of the the business development unit currently in council, the number of staff and any resources that are allocated to that unit?
This is not the same unit as the Destination Central Coast, correct? It is, okay. So it is the same unit as the Destination Central Coast unit, and the answer to that question was 4 staff in that section. So that is the current structure of that section that looks after the economic development strategy. Councillor Muirland?
Through you, I'll revise the question. How many people in council do we have dedicated to economic development for this region?
Do you want to answer that?
Okay.
Through you, the chair, to Councillor Mullen, it's 2 staff, 2 FTE.
Okay, 2 FTE dedicated to economic development.
Thank you.
Okay. Yep. Okay, we're going to go back to Councillor Smith's question. We are off to the director.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we've just found something. It's around the announcement of the new future industries facility for Newcastle. Where? Sorry.
Okay, if we can find the report from NBN, I assume. And the director will have a look at what she finds, but it would be great if it did include Central Coast Council and we knew what we were included for.
Thanks.
Okay, so one of my questions was to provide those annual report plans, so that's the director has that. Over to the director, I've also asked for a copy of all of the following documents that were included in the strategic themes in the strategic plan under economic coordination, economic partnerships, economic infrastructure, economic innovation and enterprise, economic futures, and economic transformation. There is probably over a dozen documents that are talked about in the plan, but I can't find them, so I've asked the director to see if she could.
We can certainly provide those hopefully in the next meeting.
Okay, so hopefully in the next meeting we'll have a number of those documents or the status of where they're up to or not up to. Any other questions online? Councillor McGregor, Councillor Muirland, you okay? All good? All good. Around the table, anybody else, any questions on this one? No. Okay, so have I got a mover of for the recommendation? Councillor McKenna, Councillor McQuaid, seconded. Any discussions? All those in favour on the committee? Up. All unanimous and declared carried. Okay, if we move on to item 1.6, general business, I'll start with a question to the Director of Environment and Planning. In the last week, there's a New South Wales government industrial land plan has come out, and I just asked the Director how that may impact the Central Coast in the future.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I've discussed this with the Unit Manager of Strategic Planning, Shannon Turkington. She's got an update which relates to how councils are dealing with this issue and also what this plan outlines.
Shannon.
Thank you. Council's working on its own employment land strategy, which is very close to being finalised in draft form, and it's quite timely that the Department of Planning have released this industrial lands action plan, because some of the actions within our draft strategy, such as more monitoring of industrial land and working close with industry, to get better alignment of infrastructure requirements and when land may come online lines up with their actions included in the Department of Planning's Industrial Land Action Plan. It is very new. We've got a briefing with the Department of Planning tomorrow with staff, so we can provide further information back from that as well. And the intent is that they would go through at a state level and develop some criteria to have a look at nominating sites that would be state significant, regional or local, and provide a pathway depending on what they're categorised for development approvals and also infrastructure to ensure the alignment of industrial land coming online and the right infrastructure at a state level to try and ensure that there's adequate industrial land across New South Wales, and also ensuring that industrial land is retained where it's needed, and that other types of, say, residential development isn't built near it or on top of it, to ensure that there's always enough land for jobs across New South Wales.
Thank you, Shannon. What was the document you talked about at the start that Council was putting out?
We've got a draft employment lands strategy that's just finalising some internal consultation, and then it'll be reported.
When should it come out to councillors? Do you know yet?
April. We're looking at
April.
Having a briefing for councillors,
Okay, we'll
and then
be
moving
looking
on.
for that. And okay, that's it. That's correct. Any questions? Councillors? Councillor Mayor McKenna.
Is it possible that we could maybe invite the Old Sydney Town developers so they could come and give the committee a overview of what they're looking at doing at Old Sydney Town?
I think that's a great idea. I think as far as can we, absolutely we can. We will just put it on to the March meeting agenda. I think that's a good idea for everybody to understand what they are proposing. I would imagine, I think Councillor Neal said they've been backwards and forwards for 4 years. Is that correct? 4 years? Okay. Okay, so it's a combination of Old Sydney Town and residential, so it's certainly been lodged. There's no reason why we could not invite them to the next meeting in April, and we'll make that happen. Okay, well, we will ask them to provide their current latest proposal for Old Sydney Town at the next meeting. Okay, thanks, Mayor. Any other questions online? Councillor McGregor, Councillor Muirland, any more general business? The answer is no from the 2 committee members online. Councillor McQuaid, any more general business? No. Councillor McKenna, all good. Councillor Neal, all good. Okay, I do note that the next meeting of the Economic Development Committee is to be held at 5 p.m. on Tuesday the 4th of March 2025 at the Wyong Administration Building. I now declare this meeting closed at 6:06 p.m. Thank you, everybody.
Sorry, just before you do.
Yes, Councillor Neal.
If we do have any items for the next meeting, is there a cut-off time?
It would be the same as the general meeting, so it would be a week, I think it is, ahead of time. But just let me know as the deputy chair if you've got something else.
Yeah.
Other than that. 2 weeks, I'm getting the peace sign from the Secretariat, so 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Anything within that, let me know.
Yeah, could I ask, as a matter of convenience to the committee members, that when the invitation for the next meeting goes out, that it also note there what the date of the cut-off for the agenda is, just so we're reminded.
I'm getting a thumbs up, absolutely. Great.
Thank you.
Okay, if that's it, I declare the meeting closed. Thank you, everybody.